Amaka was born in Umuofia village, deep in the southern region of Nigeria. She was beautiful, polite, and quick-witted. She was sweet and kind and very helpful to her teachers, and even the older folk in the village looked forward to her coming home from school. She helped them to fetch water and split firewood in her spare time. Her kindness earned her the name Ezibonwa, translated from Igbo as good child in English. This made some of her peers jealous, but their resentment towards her paled in comparison to the joy she brought everyone that crossed her path. It was this charm and beauty that caught the attention of Charles, the Onowu's son. The Onowu was a well-respected ruler in Umuofia village, and his son Charles was desired by all the young ladies in the village. He was tall and handsome, and his father was rich, and his father's authority came second only to the king. Amaka was just 16 in her final year of secondary school when she crossed paths with Charles. He stood by the iroko tree on the pathway from her school. She passed him and greeted politely as she usually did. Charles was immediately drawn in by her beauty, humility, and the fact that she didn't seem to be impressed by him like all the other girls in the village. He called her name and walked briskly towards her. She stopped and responded to him politely. "Amaka, can I walk with you?" he asked. "No, please. I'm in a hurry to get home, and my father will not be happy to see me in the company of a man." He laughed confidently and said to her, "Do you know who I am? I am Charles, the son of the Onowu, and the most eligible bachelor in this village." She laughed as she ran home and left him standing. He called out to her, saying, "Can I see you tomorrow after school then? I'll be waiting under the same tree." She looked back and smiled mischievously, but said nothing to him. The next day, before school ended, Charles was already waiting for Amaka under the iroko tree. He went to meet her when he saw her. "Hello, Amaka. It's nice to see you again." She looked at him and rolled her eyes. "I told you my father will not be pleased to see me walking with you. What is it you want?" she responded while looking away. "I just want to be your friend," he said, smiling at her. Charles was undeterred by her reluctance to engage. He told her lots of stories about the city as he was currently studying engineering in the University of Port Harcourt. Amaka was drawn to him, and soon they became close friends. Charles wanted more than friendship. He professed his love to Amaka and promised to marry her once he was done with his school. Amaka believed him and fell heavily for him. She gave herself to him at sunset, a day before he went back to school, to seal the bond between them. 3 weeks later, Amaka woke up feeling very ill. She had a fever and kept throwing up. Her mother observed her keenly and beckoned on her to come. She carefully examined her, holding her hands and looking into her eyes. "Amaka, you are pregnant," she said, looking directly into her eyes. Amaka denied it immediately. "I am not. I just have malaria. I'll take malaria drugs and rest. I will be fine." "Do you think I was born yesterday?" she mouthed back in a whisper, so her father wouldn't hear them, as she dragged her to the backyard. "Who got you pregnant?" she said when they reached there. Amaka was terrified and confused. At this point, she looked at her mom and tears rolled down her eyes. As her mom pressed harder, Amaka's father came out of the shadows and accosted them. He had heard everything they said. "So you and your daughter have planned to embarrass me. This is the thank you I get for putting your daughter in school, right?" At this point, both Amaka and her mother had started crying and knelt down to beg her father, but he just shook his head in disappointment and walked away from them. Amaka's heart beat like a bass drum in her ears. She was overwhelmed with her fears and just stood still while her mother ran after her father. That night, neither her nor her mother slept. They both prayed that her father would be kind in his judgment, but her father was a rigid man and more concerned with his reputation. Early the next morning, he woke her up and took her on a journey to Amuoma, a nearby village, and sold her to a woman that owned a big buka. "You are no longer my daughter," he said, his voice sounding as cold as ice. His words stung like a bee, and Amaka felt tears roll down her cheek. She begged her father, but he walked away from her like she was a stranger. Her new reality dawned on her immediately. She had been abandoned by the only family she knew, and now she had to fend for herself and the life growing inside of her, who had all of a sudden become her only family. She wiped the tears from her eyes and decided to fiercely protect her child, no matter what the future brought. The restaurant owner was cruel. She made Amaka work from dusk to dawn and gave her one meal a day, despite her condition. She would say, "I do not run a charity organization. If you want more than I give you, you need to pay for it." She didn't pay her a dime for her services, and Amaka worked well into 9 months. Despite everything, Amaka tried to be polite and kind to her customers, and soon the customers grew fond of her. One day, after clearing up at night, Amaka went into labor. Her female colleagues rallied round her and delivered her of the baby back in the back room. Amaka gave birth to a baby girl, and thankfully both Amaka and her baby were healthy. She called her baby Hope. Hope brought light to Amaka's life, a light that seemed to have dimmed the moment she found out she was pregnant. Seeing Hope's little body go through all the hardship she went through and still come out alive and well inspired Amaka to push forward. She was only allowed a 3-week break before she had to resume work with her baby. She put Hope on her back and served customers, taking breaks to feed and change her when she could. One day, a young handsome man came to the restaurant. He had come before when she was pregnant, but she hadn't seen him for a while. She served him politely with a smile on her face. He smiled back at her and said congratulations. He was referring to her baby. She thanked him politely. When she came to clear his dishes, he handed her a white envelope. "This is for the baby." She was hesitant at first, but then she took it and thanked him. She wasn't being paid by her boss, and all she had for her baby were hand-me-downs given to her by her boss and some of her colleagues. So any money would go a long way. She didn't open the envelope till she sat for a break much later. When she opened it, she saw 25,000 in it. She was amazed. That was the biggest gift she had ever gotten. Most people in the restaurant gave her tips of 100 naira, 500 naira, and then she wondered if he was a stranger in this place. The next day came, and she thanked him again. Soon he became her regular customer. Smiles and polite greetings soon became brief chats on their daily routine. She found out his name was Obiora. He worked in a real estate company and had been sent by his parent company in Port Harcourt to establish a new branch in Enugu. One day, after their brief chat, Obiora asked her about her other relatives and the father of her baby. "Isn't there anyone to help you with your baby while you work?" She bent her head and shook it. He immediately sensed that there was something wrong, so he pressed in further. She told him everything, and he gently held her hand and encouraged her, saying, "You are not your past. You are a woman who survived fire and still walks with grace." With Obiora's help, Amaka left Yabose's shack and began training as a chef in a city restaurant. Her talent bloomed, her confidence returned. She learned how to plate food like art and eventually created her own signature dish, a blend of coconut rice with roasted lamb and a creamy sauce that customers couldn't get enough of. Obiora and Amaka's relationship grew. He was gentle and kind, yet focused and determined. He encouraged Amaka to reach her goals, not in a pushy way, but in a gentle, steady nudge. One day, Obiora came to see Amaka at the restaurant, and she was shutting down for the day. He looked nervous, and Amaka was a bit concerned. She hurried up and went to meet him. She looked into his eyes and said, "Is everything okay?" He looked at her deeply and then knelt down. He brought out a ring from his pocket and said to her, "Amaka, let me build a future with you, one that honors the ashes you came from and the grace you now carry." Amaka said yes, her eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow but of gratitude. She became thankful for her past, thankful for everything that had led her to this moment where the man she had come to trust, respect, and love promised her a lifetime of partnership and friendship. Most times, we have to hold on in the storm to finally get to the rainbow after the storm. The end. Kindly like and subscribe.